Welcome back to Tab U. My name's Katrina and I'm your host today. I am back in the studio for season 4. I'm joined by a colleague, Sam, who
I've been called worse.
He's been with us several times now.
I've lost count now, but my name is Samuel Morris. I'm a lending associate at Tab.
And our special guest today is Alex from DDRE Global. Would you like to introduce yourself,
special
please?
Guest.
Special guest, not just a guest. Special guest, I like that. Should have said super guest.
Guest. Yeah. Our super guest, Alex.
Right, I'm Alex Evagora. I am a super prime advisor at DDRE Global, formerly Daniel Dagger's Real Estate. And thanks for having me.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Today, we're going to be asking the top 5 questions on super prime real estate. And we'll kick things off with question number 1. Which is quite simply, what is super prime real estate?
Super prime real estate is anything over 5 million or 10 million, depending on which company is referring to the super prime real estate. So there's top 4 companies: Savills, Knight Frank, JLL, CBRE. Some consider it over £5 million sterling, and some will consider it over £10 million sterling. But really, it's the top end of the market.
Just residential?
Yes.
Just residential.
Well, I deal with just residential. I don't delve into the commercial. And if I do ever get an inquiry, like we do usually, you know, our clients like to deal with one person.
Yeah.
Then we will refer it to a commercial agent. I don't.
The DDRE work off the 5 million or the 10 million?
Both.
So, where do you start?
We deal with 5 million plus.
Yeah.
We do, and I consider it 5 million plus.
Okay.
That's super prime real estate.
So what's the difference between prime and super prime?
Prime, I would say, is between like £2 to £5 million. No. Yeah.
So it's quite simply just...
Yeah, and then anything from 0, should we say? Yeah. Up to prime is considered what we call core.
Core. Okay, core. So you got core, prime, super prime, anything uber super prime?
Ultra.
Super duper prime.
Super duper, I like that. Yeah.
And what makes a house a luxury property?
Subjective.
Yeah.
So my definition of luxury would be different to your luxury and your luxury, right? Your luxury would be different to my luxury. It's super subjective. That's why, we can't sell one property to everybody. It won't apply to absolutely everybody's needs. Yeah, right?
Makes sense.
Every buyer has a different perception of what's good for them. So one person might want stables. One person might want a pool in their house. One person might not know how to swim and not care. One person might not know how to swim but wants a pool because it looks cool to their friends and their family and they want to show off. Some people are more subtle. Some people might want security. Some people might want a staff entrance or another staircase for staff so it doesn't affect their living, so they can sit watching TV. I can't lean too far back, so you might not be able to hear me. But
move the mic with you.
Go on, get comfortable. You got to be comfortable.
They might, want to watch TV and not have staff interrupt, their chilling out session. That's what you call it.
I guess that's another thing. You said staff. I imagine one house might need space for the staff as well if they're staying there.
Staff accommodation. Yeah. Yeah, if they're living, it looks a bit different. But it can be so many different things. One client said to me, luxury is a separate kitchen to a separate living room. So a separate kitchen to a living room. So not open plan, basically.
Okay.
That's particularly... it's more prominent with the Middle Eastern and the Chinese buyers who might smell, even Greek people. I'm Greek, right? We smell. we smell.
All Greek people or just you?
We cook some foods which can smell.
Okay.
Is what I'm going to say.
Sure.
So, my mum would even cook. She'd close the kitchen door and have the extractor fan on full blast so that, it takes away all the smells. So that's luxury to some cultures, whereas other people might want to have an open plan kitchen living room. So it looks very different to
each person.
What I might say, to each person.
And what has been your most favourite property that you've ever seen? And not your house.
I wish it was my house, but annoyingly I've seen so many amazing properties around the globe.
And what made it that kind of, what was luxury to you? Was it like, oh my God, wouldn't even...
So I can't give away an address, but we're selling a property in St John's Wood for £110 million. It's 30,000 square foot. It's a house, not an apartment. And it's just incredible. Like ground and above, it's just like a very ostentatious, very large house, you know. Then the moment you go underground, it's just like you get transported into a different world or realm.
Wow.
It's incredible. Like there's a swimming pool 3 floors down with double height ceilings and pillars on each side of the swimming pool, and you can enter through like a mezzanine level with glass from floor to ceiling, and then you can see the pool down below. It's just incredible. And then on the left is the cinema room, which is one in the ward, and on the right is a snooker room, which is like a snooker room you've never been in before, and a cinema room like you've never been in before. Like it's just incredible. Every room you can see, they haven't cut any corners. Like it just blows your mind. It's like one thing.
Was this developed as a project by a developer to sell, or was it someone's main residence at one point?
That's a good question, because when owners develop properties for themselves, that's when like the magic happens. Okay. When developers develop properties for, you know, a profit, I think that's when not corners are cut, but you don't really get the real wow factor. I mean, or should we say the luxury factor? Yeah. Like you were asking what is luxury. When you see an ultra high net worth individual create their ideal home, that's like real magic. Because then you'll think, Jesus, I never even thought about that. Yeah. Like that's what this billionaire wants. Wow. That is wicked. That's what I want. Like, that is
emphasis on the word individual there. Yeah. I guess it's they've made it their home and they've put their own touch on it.
And then they decide, oh, you know, when I come to London, I like to stay in the Connaught, so actually I want to sell it. I want 110 million. Yeah. So, you know, we get that change of mind a lot, and that's when we come in.
Well, moving on, what is the most expensive property then? That one that you've ever sold?
That I've ever sold?
Yeah. Or that's ever been sold in London?
In London, that'll be 2 to 8 Rutland Gate. Sold for £200 million. Yeah, insane.
Wow.
And it was bought. I can talk about this because it's in the papers. A Saudi royal family member, I think, sold it, and a Chinese person sold it, and then it hit the news. And yeah, it was made like headline news. Yeah, that's mega money.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's proper.
So that was the most expensive private residence. Was it the largest house private residence? What's the largest you've come across?
I don't know what the largest is. The largest I've come across will probably be the one I just mentioned, 30,000 square foot house in central London.
Do you think they'll add it to open house? You know open house?
I don't know. Actually.
It's like a thing that architects and stuff do, and you can open They sometimes open practices, and you can open, if you've got a particularly award-winning architecturally designed house, you can open your house one weekend in September, and the public can come
showcase
around. Yeah, the public can come around and go look at it
physically. They actually come round.
Yeah, you can get tickets and stuff.
That's
an organised event.
It's a whole event. It's a whole weekend. It's really cool.
That's a good idea.
So you can go into like I know because I worked at an architecture practice, but we opened our offices so that everybody could come in and see the kind of room and our projects and how we work and stuff. But I think Bloomberg was opened as well, so you could go in around the Bloomberg offices.
I have to look that up. I'm going to make a note about that.
Oh, so it's all different buildings.
Yeah. It's all across London.
Wow. We do quite a lot of open houses, so that's actually so I can advertise a house on open house.
Yeah,
and
I
then
guess so.
Invite the general public.
Yeah, and they just come around, and it's great for kind of, I guess, getting other people in.
That's really cool. I didn't even hear about that.
It's really cool.
I like whenever I go abroad in cities where the culture is open house viewings for things. I love just going along to them and seeing the different.
Cool.
Yeah,
you spent time in America, didn't you?
Yeah. So
did you come across that quite a lot?
I'm referring to Los Angeles, and in Los Angeles, it's more than common for there to be open houses.
Like every Saturday, right?
Yeah, you could be driving down the road, and if you see a really impressive house with a board outside and it's an open house, there's nothing weird. Wow. There's nothing weird about going in there and just taking a look around, or at least I didn't think so.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And they're very accommodating.
That to the UK.
Yeah, they really welcome you in. They want to show you around. They don't care who you are, what you look like, or even if you're in the market to buy the house. They will show you around.
Is there champagne?
I love that.
There sometimes is champagne, and sometimes there's free lunch. Take note.
Yeah. What's cash? Well, moving on to question number 2.
Yes.
Do people with super prime real estate need mortgages?
Need. I don't know about need, but want. Yes. They want them because, believe it or not, and I know interest rates are rising. You guys would know more than me about that. Debt is still cheap to these billionaires and ultra high net worth individuals, right? So why would they tie up 20 or 10 million pounds or 15 million, 30, whatever it is, into one single asset instead of leveraging their money, putting down, for instance, 15, 20, 25%, and then putting their money into other things as well? And don't forget, these people know how to make money.
Yeah.
They know what to do with their money. That's how they've made money. They don't work from 9 till 5.
Oh, wow.
They put their money in certain places that does really well, and the money works for them.
That's got me thinking, like the general demographic. That's one of the questions. What is the general demographic of these buyers? So you're describing people that are interested in really working and getting their money to work. Could you elaborate more on that?
Well, if you think about it, I mean, what UK or London property, should we say, actually, to be more specific, will perform at an average of about 10% per annum year on year. So these people aren't making 10% per annum on their year. They might be making 100, 150, 200% in some instances on their money.
Wow. By
maybe investing into, God knows, one of my clients into, I don't know how much I can go into it. I'm sure he's one of the biggest planet. We've got other clients who are in tech, and they'll invest in a tech company which will blow up by 250%. Wow. A UK property won't do that in 3 years. Yeah. So they'd rather put 5 million down, leverage their money, and then put the rest of the money that they could have used to buy the property in cash into other opportunities where they're going to make more money. Wow. And that's how an ultra high net worth individual thinks. And I'm learning more and more about that the more time I spend with them.
Start making some notes, I think.
Yeah, you're right.
I'll just watch this on repeat until I'm ultra high net worth.
Well, it's true, right? Because you can buy one property or you can go and buy 4 even. You know, if we're not going to talk about investing into businesses or opportunities, let's talk about property. You can buy 4 instead of 1 or 3 instead of 1, right? If you go up north, maybe you can buy more.
And in the event that they do opt to utilise a mortgage, are these buyers using your traditional mortgage lenders?
No.
They're not?
No. Usually it's a private bank that they have a relationship with already, or Deutsche Bank or JP Morgan or EFG. I mean, the most high street lender I've come across myself is probably Coutts.
Okay.
That's as high street as I've probably got.
Is it harder to obtain a mortgage when you're looking for super prime?
So I'm not in that side of the business, and I usually advise them to take their own advice. Yeah. And I don't tend to get into that at all. I try to stick to what I know and what I'm best at. But I know that the intricacies of their income, should we say, is complex. Yeah. And that's why I think they usually go to people, institutions they have had a relationship with for a very long time, because they know their tax structure or income structure, or whatever you want to call it. And they will then find the lending easier. But yes, it's probably very difficult to then go to a usual high street bank who you and I might go to Nationwide or Clydesdale and ask for that sum of money. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's probably.
It sounds like there's a slightly more limited number of options for lenders for them to turn to, and then of course you've got those intricacies surrounding their income that they need to dive into, and so working with someone they've worked with before makes sense. Yeah,
because if you and I were going to go to a bank, they're going to look at our pay slips, or I'm self-employed, so they'd look at our last, tax return, or need a letter of reference from my accountant. They'll look at my books, and I think again, Sam, you might know more than me about this because you're in the lending side of things, aren't you?
But depends what you're going to say.
I think they can even look at stocks and shares or other asset classes that the individual might hold and lend on the back of those asset classes too.
Quite possibly. True? Well, I know the way that we would look at a borrower. While we don't lend mortgages as such that these buyers may be looking for their main residences, these super prime main residences, I know that we will take into account everything that might be on their assets and liabilities statement. So, of course, things like those investments, those assets, those stocks and shares and things, we will look at. And I'd say we sell ourselves as a slightly more open-minded lender. We take a commercially minded approach. And so if these kind of mortgage lenders are also taking a more open-minded approach, it is entirely possible they'll consider those assets as well.
There you go.
It is possible. But again, that's not my sector. I think this has given us all something to go away and research.
So moving on to question number 3. Well, the main questions. How is the super prime I'll start that again. Question number 3. How is the super prime market performing given the current economic outlook?
Okay,
Bit of a
current
long question.
economic outlook. The current economic outlook, which is, if you go on the news, if you put
It's
on the
broad.
news,
It's broad.
it is very broad.
Yeah.
It's very doom and gloom at the moment. If you put on BBC, but to our clients that means opportunity. They like that. They're not so affected. In fact, they've liked the recent. Gone blank. The currency changes we've experienced recently with the dollar. So US dollar holders, which is actually the majority of our client pool, a lot of our clients hold their money in dollars because it's the central currency. They've really taken advantage of the, should we call it, a 30% discount that they've experienced. So, I mean, this podcast, you might be listening in a year's time from now. So we're on the 27th of February, 2023 at the moment.
Yeah.
And very recently we've experienced a very strong dollar, should we say.
Yeah.
And dollar holders have been able to take advantage of that for the first time, I think, in decades. God knows how long, I've forgotten now. Was it since like pre-80s? They've been able to buy property in the UK at that sort of discount. 600 million pounds sterling was sold to Americans last year in 2022 in London.
Is that to Americans or to
No, that's Americans,
to people
not dollar holders.
Oh, okay. So not just people transacting
more than
in
that.
dollars.
I've forgotten the figure now.
Wow.
But that's just to Americans.
And so when you're talking about the majority of these clients that are holding their wealth in dollars, are you referring to people holding their wealth in dollars or Americans?
No, that's people in general.
People in general.
When I say dollar holders,
understood.
that could be Middle Eastern people as well. Holding the majority of their wealth in dollars or some of their portfolio.
However, separate to that, £600 million or $600 million worth of...
No, sterling.
Sterling, wow.
Yeah.
Of British property was acquired by Americans.
In London.
Wow.
Last year.
Wow.
Leave the rest of us for some.
Oh, I didn't realise you were in that market.
I am, after I've gone and invested in some tech. Is the super prime market more or less easily affected by the wider economic landscape? So I guess base rates obviously was a big one that's affected us. Are they touched
yes and
by
no?
it?
Yeah, it doesn't mean it's in a bad way though. Like when the property market does this, there's activity, and when it does this, there's also activity. And if you're not watching us on YouTube right now or seeing visuals,
for those
my fingers are going up and down. Yeah, for those on Apple Podcasts,
non-visual platforms,
non-visual platforms,
technical term.
Yeah, they like downward and upward graphs. That's where opportunity lies. And when the market's stagnating, that's when people usually like to wait, or I don't know. Not a lot tends to happen. Then there's more activity in a down or upward market.
Okay.
Or bear or bull market, should we say, for those financiers. But it is affected. Like the recent, currency changes we've experienced. Brexit put a lot of people on hold. That was a big one. A lot of people were waiting to see what was going to happen, and then not a lot really did happen. It didn't really affect the super prime market at all. Sorry if you heard a little ding. My watch just hit the microphone.
How does what's going on in the UK market impact? Or I guess I'm thinking about the super prime. Like I'm selling sunsets. Okay, I watched that the other day. How does what's going on in the UK kind of change clients' perspectives and think, I might go invest in this market, or Dubai's sort of, I feel like maybe coming, got some nice fancy places as well.
Dubai's on fire at the moment. The property market in Dubai is meant to be really busy at the moment.
Why is that?
I think a lot of Russians are buying property there. A lot of Russians obviously were sanctioned in the UK, and forced their hand, and a lot of Russians have left Russia, and I think Dubai has welcomed them with open arms, and so there's a lot of Russians there at the moment, and I think that might have helped heat up the property market there.
The way our connections over there have described it is that it's one of the only, if not the only, completely open market to all, basically. They're welcoming people of all nationalities from anywhere around the world to still operate and invest in their markets. That's the way it was described to me.
Incredible tax benefits there as well. I think they introduced a VAT recently, or they're talking about introducing it.
I need to.
They're talking about introducing some taxes, but there's still, the tax benefits of being basing yourself in Dubai is incredible.
Yeah, certainly for people that are employed there, that's the obvious one. Always people are attracted to go and work there for other people because of the income tax, and then on top of that, there's
good weather
reasons. Yeah, exactly.
And seaside,
hot sea.
It's safe. Yeah, sorry, but London's better.
Do you ever do any business overseas? Do you sell property overseas as well?
We do as a business, yeah.
Okay.
I haven't personally, no. I'd love to.
So your specialist location is London?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to stick to what I'm good at.
Sure.
I don't want to. There's a lot of agents who call themselves a luxury. Everyone's a luxury agent now, right? Everyone. If you go on their Instagram bio, they're all a luxury agent, which is fine. It's how they market themselves to try and attract the top end. However, a lot of agents I find spread themselves thin by trying to deal with more than one country, and they're not particularly the best agent even in London before they go to, I don't know, Cyprus, Dubai, New York, Miami, wherever it might be. And I think what I'd personally like to do first is to master London, and I've been doing this for almost 10 years now, and I was born and raised in London. Sure. I'd think I know it like the back of my hand, and I want to make sure I master it first before I do go international. And what's interesting is, I'm sorry, Katrina, I know we're going off on a tangent.
No, I love tangents.
But I love tangents. But what we're noticing is everyone is naturally becoming an international agent because the ultra high net worth community like to deal with one person and one person only. So they don't want to speak to someone in London, or should we say even 10 people in London, because the UK model is broken here, right? You can't speak to, in some instances, one agent who can go out and find a property for you. You might have to speak to 10 different agents, be put onto 10 different databases, receive loads of emails and phone calls from loads of different agents that will ruin your inbox. And they all have your name, and it might be a Daily Mail sensitive name too. So what people like to do these days, or that community, is to speak to one person, and then that person will speak to all of the agents, get all the information that's available in the marketplace, send it to that buyer, make a short list, arrange a driver, and then go and show them, go shopping. And that way, that agent, if they're good at what they do, they won't give out the name to the marketplace, about who's really looking.
Yeah.
And again, it might be a Daily Mail sensitive name.
And how often are the agents that you, as the advisor on behalf of the client, are going out to, how often are those agents coming back to you saying, how do we know that you actually do have a client, you're not just wasting all of our time? If you turn up to the agent's offices and they're all selling multiple different properties, how do they know that they're talking to the right guy?
Track record.
And what if there's more than one person who claims they're representing the same client?
That can happen.
How do you prove you're the guy?
No, that can happen. They usually just say, oh, sorry, we've already got this person, or we're already dealing with this person. Okay, fine. And that'll be as far as it goes, really. But really, it's down to your track record. And that's why I'm saying I want to become, really good at London first. So at the moment, if they say, oh, I'm looking in this country too, or can you help with this? Do you know who the best person to speak to about that is? I'll say, yep, no problem. Speak to this person. Here's his number, or I'll create a WhatsApp group. Please meet this person. They'll look after you. And maybe I'll get a fee, maybe I won't. Depends on the relationship. But that's why agents are now becoming international agents, because their clients want to deal with one person only, and asking for them to service their needs as well elsewhere. And because of the internet.
So moving on to question number 4.
Yes.
How did you get into the super prime real estate market?
Okay. Gosh, do you really want to know? It goes back a few years.
From the start.
Okay.
Make it as detailed or concise as you like.
It's so funny because I want to get into podcasts and put out content, but I hate speaking about myself so much. But naturally, you have to kind of do it.
That's why I sit this side of the mic and in this spot.
I'm going to be like, what about you?
I'm no special guest.
You serve a question.
I've never been a guest.
Serve it right back.
Yeah.
Don't worry about me.
Enough about me. What about you?
All right. When did your career in property start?
Yes. So 2014. So almost 10 years now. Next year will be 10 years. I worked for a company called Edmund Cuden Booth Incorporating Bushels. I know.
Sorry.
Speaking.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah. So now they're
There
called
must have been an
Portico.
abbreviation.
Edmund Cude.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now called Portico, you said?
Now called Portico.
Yep.
Have you heard of them?
Name. Yeah, we see the boards up
Yeah.
around.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're quite big now. Yeah, they've done quite well since I worked there. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Just kidding. So yeah, I worked there as a lettings negotiator in the Camden office. I was there for 18 months. Not a very long time. I quickly realised, and also that was when I found $1 Million Listings New York and Ryan Serhant and Louise de Ortiz and Frederick Eklund, who, if you go all the way to the bottom of my Instagram, you will see one of my first ever posts in 2014 was doing that Frederick Eklund kick after I did a deal in Camden.
And you kept it on there.
Yeah, I did actually. I know, I should probably delete that.
I'm going back to find it now.
So, anyway, I quickly realised that the best agents in the industry, because of the internet, I realised quickly, and because of social media, that all of the best agents were in central London. So I decided I need to get to central London as quick as I can. But I realised as well at the same time, I have to prove myself. I can't just go and work for one of the best in the industry and in their super prime team or in the private office at a certain company. So I applied for a central London role at a few companies. A few things happened and I made a few moves and I ended up at the biggest property company in the world, CBRE. More so for commercial though, but I was in the residential team in Covent Garden, again doing lettings. And I broke the pound per square foot in Covent Garden. I worked my absolute tush off. I was there for just under 4 years. Broke the pound per square foot in Rathbone Square in Fitzrovia. I broke an internal record, the highest ever billing for a letting agent in any 1 month. I won't say exactly what it is, but it was well over 6 figures in 1 month, which was incredible, seeing as our average fee was £3,500. Wow. And I was the first letting agent to rent a property off plan before the owner actually completed on it as well. So our sales team sold a property in Centre Point, which is a grade listed building, if you don't know it, in Tottenham Court Road, pretty much on top of the station. Really cool.
A new restaurant there.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah, the penthouse is or was for sale for about 55 million.
Wow.
Anyway, so I knew one of my sales team members had a property under offer. They hadn't exchanged on it yet, and I had a tenant who knew of the building and said, "I want to be in that building." And I said, "Okay, just bear with me." I was speaking to his family office in Switzerland. I'll let you know when something comes up. I kept in touch with him every now and again. Kept them abreast of what was coming up and not. Anyway. I kept in touch with the sales member, which a lot of agents don't really do. You've got really good contacts in your office that you don't really know about sometimes. And they said, "Yeah, we've exchanged." I said, "Great, I've got someone lined up for you." And we told the owner, he said, "Yep, buy-to-let investor, no problem, let's do the deal." And we lined him up and we signed a contract subject to completion. And we gave him the keys the day the landlord completed on the sale, on the purchase.
So, God, look at that.
So then that started happening more and more. I was doing block deals as well with rentals. So there were companies that would rent a whole block of apartments and then sublet them in a illegal fashion. We know it was put into the contract that we knew they were, subletting them. That was rent to rent, and now that's become really popular. So yeah, I was doing things like that. I was getting really creative and I got noticed. Yeah. And then I went somewhere else, which didn't work out very well. I was head of lettings at a certain company in Chelsea. So, I've gone from Camden to Marylebone to Covent Garden to Chelsea. So now you can see I've made a few moves and now I know central London really well.
So you're slowly picking them all off.
Yeah, and I'm learning. I realised that I need to know London and I realised what I need to do to become one of the best. Yeah. Anyway, so I do that, make a few moves, spend time in a big corporate, go to a small company, become head of lettings, get some managerial experience, then I start my own company. So I was doing that for 8 months, running my own business. Small lettings and management company based in central London. And I knew Daniel Daggers, and he started his own business too. And he sat me down and I said, "I want you to come join me." And I said, well, I can't. I've just started my own business. You know, and I did speak to him prior about going to work with him in the private office at Knight Frank, and he did want me, but things didn't work out. I did a character. It wasn't my character test. I didn't have enough super prime experience at the time, which is fair enough, or sales experience. Again, fair enough. It's the truth. I didn't. So members of his team didn't want me, but we kept in touch. He mentored me from afar when I had my own business. And you know, he helped me through certain sticky situations, and we built trust in each other as well from afar. He saw how I worked. I saw that his advice worked. And then he said, I want you to come work with me. I said, I can't. But then that evening I said, okay, let's just do it. But I have to keep my business. Yeah. And then the self-employed agent was born at DDRE. Yeah. And here we are.
And did you need any qualifications? If I wanted to get into it, would I need qualifications now?
No, you don't need qualifications. I think they help. If you're ALA, if you're a member of the Association of Residential Letting Agents, or the National Association of Estate Agents, which is the sales side, I think they might help with general knowledge and legalities here and there and processes. You don't need them. No, you don't need them.
If you can sell anything, if you can sell something, I guess then you know.
It's not just selling. You need to know your stuff. You know, you're advising. You become an advisor. Once your track record's in a certain place, and I don't even think I'm there yet. Like, I've got major imposter syndrome even right now doing this podcast with you guys. But once you get to a certain place in your career, people start asking you for your opinion. And it feels weird at first. You're like, oh God, he's just asked me. I don't even know myself, you know. But then you think, oh, actually, I do know. You know, you start going from then your confidence starts building, and so does your bank account and the fees and your career, and people start calling you instead of you calling them for business, and things just start going from there. So it's track record, really. It takes time. You have to go through the shit. Sorry, can you swear on this podcast?
You can.
Okay.
Oh, you just did. That doesn't matter.
Cut that out.
No, it's fine. We like it.
You have to go through that painful process to get to that certain level, and then you become an advisor. And then you start giving advice to these people who have done better than you at life, which feels really weird. But yeah, I hope that helps. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, that does.
Yeah.
Really interesting. And then I guess, well, seeing as you've been in it for a decade, question number 5.
No, yeah, almost, yeah.
How has this sector changed within the last decade, almost?
Oh, God. It's a good question. I wish I'd been in it for 20 years, then I can really tell you, because, you know, I obviously just got into it 9 years ago or so. I know money's got younger. That's something I've seen.
Okay.
Money has got younger. Like, when I first started, I had to wear a tie and I had to be clean shaven. Yeah. Oh God, it's coming back to me. I remember one of my colleagues, who was actually now one of my best mates, he's going to be the best man at my wedding, Charlie.
Oh, wow.
He came in.
Shout out to Charlie.
Yeah, shout out to Charlie. He came in with a bit of fluff on his chin one morning, and his director, the sales director, came into the office, because we were in the Camden office and the head office was in Camden too, so we saw the directors quite a lot, and they'd check up on us, not that we were naughty or anything. And he literally made him go and buy a razor from Sainsbury's down the road and shave. Yeah, at work. So it was that strict back then. Whereas now, I think having a beard is quite cool, and it's become more. Yeah, I saw you smile there.
Yep.
Yeah, it is cool. I like your beard too.
I
Sam.
agree.
Yeah.
Got to own the fact that I didn't shave for the podcast.
But yeah, money's got younger. Sorry, let me just go into that a bit more. So if I wore a tie now and was clean shaven, and even wore a Cartier Santos 100, some of our buyers might not like that with a double-breasted suit. They genuinely might not like that. They might be a tech entrepreneur wearing an iWatch and have like fluffy hair that's not gelled and slicked back like mine. Yeah. And I'll come across as really greasy, right? And too slick. And they won't like that. And too proper with the tie. And, oh, yes, hi, nice to meet you. I'm Alex from DDRE Global. You know, they don't want that. They want someone who's cool and chill wearing jeans.
So out of interest, if you come across a client like that, do you change your approach? Do you change your image? Or you are Alex, I am what I am?
Yeah, without sounding too much of like a gecko. That's the lizard that changes, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Chameleon.
Sorry.
Chameleon, you're right, yeah.
You're right, yeah.
I think they're all the same, aren't they? Part of a gecko family? No, my housemate loves geckos.
No, chameleon, yeah, without sounding too much, yeah, you're right, yeah. Without sounding too much like I mold myself too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, I try to, you know, appeal to who I'm in front of, especially if I'm on a pitch, right? If you imagine you're pitching for a £25 million house in Mayfair.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to want to try and build a bit of a rapport, aren't you, with your future client or prospective, you know, potential future client. So yeah, you want to mold the conversation around them and find common ground. Yeah.
And if that's removing a tie, it's removing a tie.
I hate ties. I do wear a tie sometimes.
But do you put one on for certain clients?
I do. Yeah, I do. Not gonna lie. And actually, I'm gonna start wearing them more, especially for videos. You know the videos I do? Have you seen the videos I do?
On your socials and things like that. Yeah.
On my social and digital channels. Yeah, the introductory sort of videos I do to our listings. I'm going to start wearing ties more.
Why is that? Why are you going to wear it more? Do you prefer the way
I just feel like our clients deserve it. Like, you know, they're paying a lot of money to, you know, we're an expensive agency and they're paying a lot of money to have us represent them. And I feel like they deserve that. It's contradictory. In the past, I have said, I'll admit, I hold my hands up, that I think it's because I'm annoyed with having been made to wear a tie every day, all day for like 10 hours and be at a desk. That I then went off when I started my own business. I was like, no, business owners don't wear ties. You know, I wear it for myself. I'm not an employee. But no, I might even go back to that a little bit here and there. Yeah.
So where do you see the sector going in the next 10 years?
Where do I see the sector going?
Ties.
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 I see everyone
ties and
wearing
clean shaven.
Yes. Where do I see the sector going in 10 years? In terms of what, like...
do you think there will be... Well, actually, this is another question. Is there always just property on the market and that crops up every kind of year, there's a new pool of properties? Or do you kind of see the same property each
Actually,
year?
no. I'll tell you. Well, that for lettings potentially yes, but sales not so much. But I'll tell you where I think it's going. I think the representation of a buyer buying a property in London will become more prominent. So it's very big in the States, Canada, Australia. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to become much more prominent here, having someone represent you in the marketplace. I think that's also
outside of the super prime.
Yeah, up to a certain level. I think if you're, I think so. It's going to become more common. And I think there'll be a trickle down effect. Yeah, I think some people will want it and some people won't. My dad won't want it. He's a control freak. He likes doing everything himself, even cutting the grass. I think he's mad. You know, I'm into more delegation. But anyway, like I think that's part of the reason why agents have such a bad name in the UK as well. Really, like we don't work for the buyer. It's bad. We work for the seller. So, and also we employ young professionals with little experience and incentivize them, and they'll say certain things to get a deal done, which I don't think is entirely good for the industry and for our names and our reputations. Anyway, so I think people want to be represented by one person. The agency model in the UK is broken. You might have heard Daniel say this a lot. And this is why we got on so well when we first met. We agree on this massively. We both spoke about it on our social media, which is how actually we met over Instagram. We both saw each other from afar and got to know each other. You know, you have to go through four different websites, Rightmove, Zoopla, on the market, prime location, just to make sure you haven't missed something which you might like in the location you're looking in. And you have to speak to 10 different people. You know, Knight Frank, Savills, Barnard Marcus, Foxtons, you know, all of these different agents, and they put you on the database and they call you every day. Then their offices in the areas next door to them will say, hi, you just spoke to my colleague. Would you look in this area too? Yeah. Just a quick call, you know, leave loads of voicemails. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. It's like a full-time job trying to buy property in London or in the UK. Like it's nuts. So I think that will happen more. It's like a no-brainer. It just takes the consumer to realize it. It just takes time. Yeah. And they will. You know, when America coughs, we catch a cold. Or is it sneezes? What's the saying? Yeah.
Sneeze would make sense.
Like
I don't know the same, but I know what you mean.
They're years ahead. Yeah. They've got it down to a T.
Out of interest, the work that you do leading up to a successful acquisition for the client, because correct me if I'm wrong, that's the side you're working on. You're helping the buyers buy property.
As well as the sellers sell their property.
Fine.
Yeah, we do both.
At the point, in the event you're helping someone buy a property, then you're going around the market to see what's for sale on behalf of your buyer. at what point have you started earning your money? Because it's a lot of time, it's a lot of work. Presumably you won't actually get paid until a deal is done, until your client
Correct.
finds the property they bought.
Correct. That's it.
I guess on the flip side, if you're trying to sell something for someone, at what point do you say, I'm not the guy for you, because it could be any reason, for they have unrealistic expectations for what they want to sell the property for, or
that's
it could
really
be
rare.
any reason.
I can, you know what? I'll give you an
Because
example.
You're acting the role of an advisor. Is that
Yeah. Yeah.
Fine. So would you
We
say
really,
that
at
you
DDR
steer things
Sorry,
for
carry
them?
on. Sorry, do we steer things to them? Yes, we do. We do. I'll give you an example with a live case study at the moment. And if my client listens to this right now, they'll have no problem with saying with it because they know they're a difficult client. There's a property in South Kensington, which we are selling, and it's my client, which I've got through my own personal network. Actually, they got referred to me by an old colleague of mine who was a graduate at CBRE, and I gave him a lot of time and attention and got quite close to him. Others might not do that. That's their choice. I tend to look after people and help people up. It's like the law. I see that as the law of the universe. Like, if you want to go further, you've got to help people up on the way. And I think the universe looks after you back, whether it's the universe or God or whatever you want to call it, some higher power. That's
Karma.
my belief. Karma, whatever.
Sure, yeah.
Nachas, I think. Some people call it.
I think we're all talking about the same thing when we get onto this topic. Everyone's just got their own translation for it. But I think,
You see what I mean? Anyway, so I did that. And
energy.
Then this energy, I'm going to keep coming up with words out.
Yeah.
This person I'm speaking about moved countries to Singapore. And I'm really grateful. But he's got, I think they're his client too. They said, we've got a property in London we're trying to sell. Do you know who might be the best place to help us? And he said, yeah, speak to Alex at DDRE. And he connected me with them. So, even your colleagues of today might be people that send you business in 10 years' time. So keep good relationships with everyone. I always say that, make good friends with everybody you can.
Yeah.
But anyway, without going off on too much of a tangent, this client...
Katrina loves a tangent.
I know, she does like a tangent. So this particular client, again, built the property for themselves, or refurbished it, sorry, shall I say. It's an apartment. And they had very high price expectations. And they did get I don't know what the word is, refused or turned down by 2 or 3 other agents because of expectations on pricing. And I feel like I'm the agent they can come to, and I will do what other agents can't be bothered to do. And I don't know if it's because I'm self-employed or on a higher commission or because I'm just more driven. I don't know what it is, but I love it when it's like doing a viewing on a Sunday. I love it because I know other agents won't do it. They'll be hungover or in the park or, I don't know, God knows, with their family. Fine, that's also a good thing to do.
It sounds like you and the DDRE team, there's a theme here, and it's that you're trying to do things differently. Or not trying, you are doing things differently.
Yeah.
That's what sets you
And
apart.
We are doing things differently. Loads of things. I mean, that's a whole other tangent in itself. But...
is it being positively received by the industry?
Yeah, it is. It is. I hope so. What do you think?
I like the way you guys work. And I like the way that the company's presented. It's nice. It feels like there's a sense of individuality with every agent. I don't necessarily know the setup behind the scenes. Well, you've now told us that you are self-employed. You're running your own business within DDRE.
Yes.
And so it doesn't matter whether DDRE is above you, but we're talking to Alex.
Yes.
That's the sense that I get, and that comes across in a lot of the marketing that I see DDRE putting out.
Correct. Yeah. And that allows me to speak to even clients in a certain way that I'd like to speak to them, whereas others might not be able to speak to them in that way.
They're conscious of representing the company they work for.
Yeah. As much as I am an ambassador for DDRE Global, I am very much my own boss at the same time. And if I don't want to take on a client, I don't have to take on a client. So it becomes more of like a want to take on the client, but on my terms too. So I'll say to this particular client, I can be very frank with them, and they also respect that I'm the director of my own business. you know, as opposed to saying, I want to speak to your boss. You know that will never happen. And you can say, look, I can take on your property, but it's going to take a completely unorthodox approach. I can help you achieve a premium, but you're going to have to listen to everything I say. And you steer them in the right direction, like you said.
There's that element of trust
and
in you.
That's what I've got going on now. This is a live case study. I'm selling a property. I won't say which one, but it's in the South Kensington area. There's a few, so you'll be able to identify which one it is. And
challenge accepted.
They want to achieve a premium. They've been turned down by a few agents, and I said to them, you know, I'm going to do something completely different that no agent will be up for, because they might run around doing loads of work, loads and loads of work, loads of previews, showing loads of agents around, taking loads of content, posting on social media, speaking to buyers, like 6 months worth of hard work on one 2-bedroom apartment that's still a super prime property because it's been refurbished to the nines, to then end up with no sale and no client. But I know that if I put in all the work and show them the facts and the figures, we've done this, we've done that, we've done this, we've done what you wanted, it didn't work, so I did this, you know, lay it out, and we showed them the technology which we've built in-house, which no other agent has access to, which I won't really go into now. I'll save that for another time. Then I know that they're going to say, you know what, Alex, you're right, we should take your offer of X.
Let's do it.
You know, you've done this many viewings, that's been the feedback. You've done an open house, you've done content, we've reduced the price, we've done off market, you've exhausted that avenue, you've done this. You know, yes, you're right. We should now do that. I trust myself that I can help my client arrive there. So I feel like I'm the agent that will go above and beyond, and that's different to other agents who just want a quick sale.
Yeah. So
I look forward to operating in the super prime market one day.
Well, I was going to say,
Alex, you're my
good
guy.
luck. You'll probably get a few grey hairs, but it's worth it in the end.
I like the look.
Thank you.
That ties us off very nicely, because I was going to say, where can people find you?
At Alex_Evagora on Instagram. I'll say that's my main platform, or Alex Evagora on LinkedIn.
Well, soon to be podcast platform as well.
Oh yes, the 3 entrepreneurs. My friend and colleagues Ollie and Benji have asked me to mention it. So check out the 3 entrepreneurs podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and Google.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And
thank you.
Anything else for any more?
Nothing from me. It's been really informative.
Well, thank you.
Thanks
for coming in.
Thanks both so much for joining us. It's been good. I've got a lot to research and
all those tangents.
I'm looking forward to it.
If there's anything I can do to help, let me know.
Oh, thank you. And thanks to all of our listeners. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and all the details will be in show notes. Bye.